If I inked up a large capacity pen, which means I will not use up the ink in a short period, do I still need to clean my pen regularly? Yeah, you know what? I think so. And by regularly, I mean like once a month, right? So if you're talking something like a piston filling pen, you know, that has like upwards of 1.5 milliliter or 2 milliliter ink capacity, if you're not, you know, if you've got that pen in your rotation, you got a 10 pen case, whatever, you're using it maybe once, you know, every few days or maybe even once a week. You know, if you're writing with that pen for 5 minutes once a week, you know, first of all, do you need to have that many pens inked up? You might say no. I usually do. So, you know, I totally feel where you're coming from. I'm actually in the middle of a pen cleaning blitz right now because I have about 40 different pens that I had set aside that I was like, oh, I need to clean that out. Well, I'll just use a different one and clean it later. That becomes a problem. That becomes a problem, especially if the pen is not as inked up like your situation and it's like there's just a little bit of ink left in there and you set it aside for a month or two and it kind of dries out and then it's like, dang it, now when I clean it, I need to do a full-on like, you know, industrial cleaning, take the whole thing apart and all that. And it's like, why do I continue to put it in that position? Proactivity really helps a lot when you're cleaning pens. It can make the difference between cleaning a pen in 5 minutes and cleaning a pen in 30 minutes. So if you wait too long, then you can really make a lot more work for yourself. So it's a lot better to try to catch it earlier on. So I personally like to clean a pen, or I like to say that you should clean a pen. Don't always live it out myself because I, you know, have a lot of pens and have kids and the business and all this stuff. So I don't always necessarily practice what I preach, but however, I will still preach it. It's always best to clean a pen that you're using regularly. If I say regularly, I mean like not dried out and crusty and sitting aside. One that has ink and you're using the same color ink in it, whether you're refilling it or just leaving one filling in it and sitting like that, I say go a month and then clean the thing out, ideally. You don't have to live by that. Some pens will seal up really nicely and can go longer than that. Other pens, maybe not so much, so you want to kind of play that one by ear. But when you're using a pen like that and you're cleaning it out at least once a month, it's going to make your life a little bit easier than if you let it completely dry out. And the thing is, the reason you're doing that is because ink is made mostly of water and dye and some other stuff. So when you're leaving it sitting there, even if it's sealed up, you know, it's maybe not sealed 100%. So when you're leaving it for a month or more, the water can start to evaporate out of that ink. And then you're left with a more concentrated dye that won't flow as well through the pen. And if it's left there for long enough, or there's a very little bit of ink left in there, the dye and everything can actually dry out and leave, you know, this crustiness inside your pen that's really tough to clean out. Not that it can't be done, and you can always use something like a pen flush or whatever to help revive your old crusted pens. But in general, that's what I would say is better to do it within a month. Of course, you always want to clean out your pen every time you're changing an ink color. It doesn't have to be a super thorough one, but if you're just using a color and you want to change it out, just flush it out, you know, until it's clear. Touch a paper towel to the nib, make sure there's no color coming out of the nib, and if there's no color, you're in good shape. You can ink it up with a new color, good to go. But in general, that's what I like to say that you should do. However, use your own judgment. If you're using a pen, if you've got it inked up, it's a 2 milliliter ink capacity, and you're using it, and a month goes by, and you ink it, and you're still using it, and the ink level doesn't look like it's dropped, and it still flows really nicely, do what you want. You know, it's your pen. So I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in general, it's a good idea to try to clean it out pretty regularly.